Our guest today is Rachelle Ramiro. Rachelle has a master's degree of science in nursing. She's been a nurse practitioner for 9 years and a nurse for over 15 years. She is the founder of Revive and Rejuvenate and CEO to Health. These are health and wellness industry related type businesses. We discussed infrared sauna, cold plunge, hyperbaric chamber. And if, like me, some of you have heard of these tools for health, but don't really understand the benefits of it, this is a great podcast because she broke it down and explained what each one of them possess. And I found it rather interesting, and hope that you do too. If you need to reach out to Rachelle and contact her, her Instagram is Rachelle.Ramiro. And I hope that you enjoy the podcast. And then you'll hear some music. What's the music?
Just kidding.
So, okay, here we go. Where do you want to start? We can start wherever you want to. This is how it all begins. We'll just start talking, and next thing you know, we're in a conversation. So you want to talk about how you got here, how you started, what it was that interested you in the would it basically be called cosmetic industry, or is it
I'm more in the health and wellness space, but I also do like beauty too.
Okay. So explain the health and wellness. What does that entail?
So to me, what health and wellness is about like what you could do to keep yourself healthy and well, not sick. They talk about hospitals and doctors' offices, and that's more about getting people better when they've already gotten sick. So this is more preventative health, I think.
Is nutrition play a part of that? Are you involved in the nutritional end of health and wellness, or is it more supplement? Is it, explain, what portion of health and wellness that you're interested in?
Well, I'm interested in all of it, but I provide Revive and Rejuvenate provides more supplements. Mm-hmm. So I think like nutrition is a very important part of like weight loss, longevity. Mm-hmm. And when people ask me about programs for weight loss, it comes with a lot of nutrition facts,
okay.
Mm-hmm.
So the nutrition part of your particular interest would then be more along the lines of body sculpturing, looks, appearance, or does it still include overall health as far as how people get through their day and energy level? And
I think it's more about energy levels and feeling good and feeling optimal. So the real reason why my company is called Revive and Rejuvenate is because I wanted them to feel revived and rejuvenated from the inside out. Mm-hmm. But it's also play off of my name because my name's Rachelle Ramiro, so R&R. But this is more energy. Like I want people to feel like they can still do the things that they used to do when they were in their 20s or 30s, depending on their age.
Mm-hmm. When you talk about nutrition, for an example, what's your advice in nutrition? Because nutrition opens up the door to a lot of different avenues where you have so many choices.
So a lot of people come to me about weight loss more than like nutrition. Of like they ask me, how is it that you are able to eat what you can eat and still like remain thin? But really, it's my choices of what I like to eat. I'm more into proteins, less carbs. Mm-hmm. Carbs just turns into sugar and it stores. It's for energy. Mm-hmm. So when you're not using it and you're not active, it stores fat. Right. So nutrition-wise, I try to tell people to eat healthier choices versus like eating processed foods or junk food, chips and sodas, and it's all sugar. It all turns into sugar.
Right. Yeah, I was listening to a podcast a couple days ago, a week ago, and it was all about that. And it was about sugars and the sugars that are in our foods that we eat. Processed foods specifically. I mean, there's so much sugar, which is the key ingredient, which is why people continue to go back into processed foods or fast foods, because sugar creating that craving that if you get the least bit hungry, you're going to your body is going to crave the carbs, because it's an easy source of energy, and it's an easy filler too. When you talk to people about sugars, and you talk about the carbs, and you talk about the diets, what specifically are you telling them? Are you telling them to stay away from most carbs? Are you telling them, is it more like a meat diet that you're leaning more towards? What is it exactly?
I personally like the meat, like eating meats and vegetable diets, but it really depends on the person, right? I could use my parents as an example, but we used to eat like rice with every single meal, coming from a Filipino background. So it was like carb, like eggs and rice, and lunch with rice, and dinner with rice. So if we're starting off doing something like that, I try to have them like wean off like a meal or two of not eating rice, and then weaning off even a whole meal. So it depends on who I'm talking to, like a lot of Italian families too eat pasta with all their meals. So first I do an assessment of what exactly they're eating, and then what their goals are.
Right. Yeah. I have found personally that the carnivore diet for me works the best. And the staying off of the processed food just automatically within a couple of days makes you feel 100% better. It's surprising how processed food and the sugars that are in processed food really drag you down. You would think that those carbs would give you some energy, but it's almost the opposite effect, at least in my experience and how I feel when I personally stay away from it. It takes a while, but then there's also that craving, almost addiction feeling that sugar gives you. So.
Yeah, I did the carnivore diet for 12 days and I ended up losing 12 pounds.
Did you really?
But that was when I did that, when I had, I did go to a lot of events, and I was kind of, having too much fun with the beers and the country concerts, and so I was eating whatever that was available
right
on the weekends, and I had gained a bunch of unnecessary weight, and so I was like, I need to do something that is gonna change my diet, and I went carnivore 12 days and I lost 12 pounds.
It's amazing. I think the alcohol especially.
Yeah,
the alcohol
the beer.
is there is absolutely nothing vital about alcohol. The body, there's nothing. It's just almost like putting a foreign substance into your body. The body uses none of it for
alcohol's the worst. It's the worst, but everybody
gravitates towards
it. I think it's like a social thing. It's like the only thing drug that people are feel that it's weird if you don't do it.
Right. Yeah. It's and there is a certain part of it that is enjoyable. It's like, I'm not a big drinker. I'm not a beer guy. I don't like beer. Wine, I'll drink occasionally, but my scotch, I love scotch. But even at that, I'll have a scotch maybe twice a month, maybe, and then only one glass, only just like a shot of it, because I can make that last for an hour or so. But there's something fun and fulfilling about the social aspect of sitting with a glass of something in your hand while you're talking. And I think that begins the quest for people. So if you're drinking sweet drinks, if you're drinking beers, you're drinking something that you can drink rather quickly, it can add up fast.
Yeah, even if I am in the health and wellness space, I do enjoy like meeting up with my girlfriends or going to an event and having a cocktail. And everyone always asks me, what do you drink? You know, I don't, it's always like a gin martini has no carbs, really. So, or tequila sodas, you know, it's not, there's no soda in it. Not like the toxic water.
The soda water.
Yes, the soda water.
Yeah. No, it's but you know what? It's odd how much emphasis we all put on alcohol, though, because we'll talk about it a lot. A lot of people will use it a lot, imbibe in it, and a lot of people will actually overuse it and abuse it. And to the point that the next day the body is reacting to the overuse of it, and it takes a day or so to get through that to where the body cleanses itself of all the alcohol. And I'll be damned if a week later they don't go back and do it all over again. So, you know, there are all different levels of consumption. But my belief, and tell me how you feel about it, is my belief in life is balance. There's a balance everywhere in life. And you can't say, it's like if I say my carnivore diet that makes me feel the best is not something that is sustainable for me for more. I think the longest I have done it was a couple months. And I can't sustain it much more than that because there are other things that I enjoy having. The downside is if you don't find balance, you'll go to extremes. There will be multiple extremes that, you know, you'll go 100% carnivore and then you go off of it. And then next thing you know, you're in and out of Del Taco. And, you know, so you got to find that balance in life. Is that something that what you talk to your clients about? You know, how do you prescribe to them? How do you put them on a particular diet? Do you give them a one road type of a diet, or do you give them something where they have options?
Well, I don't really do diets for people. So if we're talking about weight loss, they come to me for different reasons. Like even when, just as we were talking about alcohol, if people drink too much and they're hungover, we can give them like IVs to help remedy their hangovers.
Okay.
Because they're dehydrated. But the people I talk to about nutrition are the people that are trying to lose weight. So that's when we come up with a weight loss program, depending on different factors of realistic things. Like, correct. Are you really going to stop drinking, or are you going to work out an hour a day? Like, there's different, it depends on where they're at in life. And that's what I try to do, is meet them where they're at and try to figure out solutions of how they could do life changes that are going to be lasting.
Okay.
Because a lot of the times there's diet fads that last for like 2 weeks and then they lose the weight and then they're back doing what they used to do before. And that's something that that's not sustainable. Yeah,
that's a problem with most diets, is that they're not sustainable. So what you're saying is you kind of develop a program based on the person themselves and what their needs are. Also maybe what their personality is. You know, so this, run me through. Let's say, for, you know, if you can pick a client. I know we won't, pull their names.
Well, I always use my parents as an example. Before I put them on anything, they didn't like to work out at all. They just would eat and watch TV and hang out with their grandkids. So when I implemented any supplement with them, I told them that they had to at least walk for an hour.
Okay.
Adding some type of activity to their diet and program. And so they started walking, every day. And if not every day, at least 5 times a week. And my mom lost 45 pounds.
45 pounds?
Yeah, and she's more energized, and she feels like she has more, she can do a lot more than she could, and she feels a lot better. Her energy is better.
Would Mom mind if you shared what her age is?
No, I don't think so. She's 70. Oh, she just turned 70. We
just turned
went
70.
To Mexico.
And when did she lose 45 pounds?
Within the last 4 to 5 months.
Really? Really? See, that to me is astounding, because as we age, the body changes so rapidly during the later years that losing weight and dropping, pounds becomes much more difficult.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like our metabolism was when we were 40 years old. So, what was it, the walking that did it? Was it the nutrition, the diet? So what do you think helped Mom lose 45 pounds?
Well, I think also it's the supplements that I was giving her, which we started on, and she knew that they cost money. So she was also like, I can't waste my daughter's money. So she started on that, and then I was like telling her mom, like, I don't have kids yet. Like, I need you guys to be around longer, and I want to keep you here. So I'm going to do whatever I can to keep you guys around longer. And then she's starting to do all the services that I tell her that I've built, I guess, in my brand.
Uh-huh.
And her and my dad come, and they come to like Hollywood. They come to our CEO, like Hyperbaric Oxygen stuff, the saunas. And she walks, and they look good. I'm like happy.
So when you look at them now and compare to 6 months ago, they look healthier.
Mm-hmm.
They're much more in shape after losing 45 pounds. What about your dad? Did your dad experience the same type of weight loss? Or
Well, I put him on some peptides. With him, it was a different issue. So his doctors were telling him he needed neck surgery. He had cervical stenosis, which is like a narrowing of your cervical spine, and he was having like tingling in his hands. So he had a lot of inflammation there, and so I gave him some peptides in his neck, and he started doing hyperbaric oxygen chambers, and he doesn't have any more pain, and he's able to move around. So he's not on weight loss stuff, but he started losing weight with my mom because they were walking around, and he wasn't eating as many carbs anymore. They stopped cooking rice at the house.
That had been hard. Filipinos not eating rice.
I know. They do on like during special occasions, they say, but it's like somebody's birthday every weekend, so it seems like it's every weekend that they cheat.
Yeah, but it's better to cheat than to have it as a daily practice.
Yeah,
so
that's why I'm happy.
Yeah, they're doing good. Explain peptides to me. What are peptides, and what do you use them for, and what's the benefits?
So peptides is amino chain, a small amino chain, because your body's made out of amino acids. The FDA actually just shut down a lot of the peptides here, and none of them come to California anymore, unfortunately. But they tell your brain to do certain things. So it could tell it to like release HGH. It could tell it to heal. The one that I put my dad on is the BPC 157. And yeah, the FDA just shut a lot of the labs down for making that just recently.
Why? What was their reason behind that?
I think it was like a safety issue. I don't want to go into all the politics about it, but there were some smaller companies that weren't being regulated as much, and some were even used as animal use just so that they didn't have to be monitored. Mm-hmm. But they're supposed to be injected into your body, so. The FDA was saying it was because of safety, but those peptides do work. So if you were getting them from a good source, they were safe and effective.
So that was probably the issue behind it, that there were unsafe sources out there.
Yeah, without getting all political about it, I feel like there are a lot of things that the FDA kind of wants to control. Mm-hmm. So...
Oh yeah, I mean it's no secret, I don't mind being political about that, so I'll say it. But the FDA really is funded so often by pharmaceuticals, and pharmaceutical companies don't like the competition. So there's a lot of things that are being taken off the market for protection. Mm-hmm. For the pharmaceutical companies. I mean, that's just It's been well talked about, I will say. Mm-hmm. So without the peptides, what direction? What are your options? Do you have other options?
Well, this is why I'm happy that we opened up CEO2 Health in Hollywood.
Mm-hmm.
It helps. It's a lot of recovery stuff. So it's like hyperbaric oxygen chambers. You go in and it helps with healing. It helps with like the infrared saunas help also with healing and blood flow. And we have a cold plunge there. I also have a business in Arizona where there's more freedom to get peptides still there, because there are certain ones that they are still being sold depending on what you want it for. So yeah, I'm able to still do that, but not in California.
Not in California, yeah. But you do have the hyperbaric chambers. You do have the red light
And infrared saunas.
Infrared saunas, yeah. Just talk a little bit about that, because that is something that is gaining popularity. It's getting a lot of momentum behind it. Along with the cold plunges, but cold plunge has kind of been around for a while, but now there's people have got a lot of options to be able to do it at home versus before, it was hard to do unless you went out in the ocean.
Yeah. So actually, hyperbaric oxygen chambers have been around for a long time, like decades, and it was mainly used in the hospital. And a lot of athletes, like LeBron James or Terrell Owens, they used the softer chamber that couldn't hold as much pressure as the harder chambers. And that's the ones that we have are the hard shell chambers.
Okay.
So it's like Long Beach Memorial has a hyperbaric oxygen unit, but it's only like for FDA approved like diagnoses that patients are really, really sick, like wound healing or.
Right. My son was at Memorial for that very reason. This has been, I want to say at least 15, maybe more years ago. He was a police officer on a motorbike, and he was hit in the middle of an intersection. And he had a double compound fracture and almost lost his leg. But part of the healing process was every day he had to go into the chamber twice a day for, I want to say, for 30 or 45 minutes. I mean, it was quite a while.
An hour probably.
Yeah, maybe so. And I just remember I went every day with him and stood by, and it looks just like the chamber that you would expect, where you would see on TV for the divers going into the chamber. Yeah, the divers going. Heavy dark metal and screwed down, latched it tight. And for Chris, unfortunately, he gets claustrophobia, very bad. And just watching him broke my heart, going in. But by the time, the upside of it is by the time he was finished with the 2-week process, it didn't bother him anymore.
Oh, that's good. Good to know.
Yeah, but yeah, he was in that because of the healing process on the legs. So that part has been around for quite a while.
So how's his leg?
His leg is fine. It's gone into, because he had screws and pins, put in there, and he had those in for about 8 years, and then he got an infection, and it almost went septic, so they had to go in and they had to pull all the hardware out, and he did that. Then he got through the infection and got it cleared up, but I think all in all, it started affecting his hip and his lower back, and he ended up actually getting a retirement from it because it was just too painful.
Yeah. So they never let him use the chamber again?
No. Once, because that's all controlled through insurance and through the doctors of how far they would let it go, and so it wasn't like a lifelong commitment.
Yeah. So a lot of another reason why we started this is because we wanted to be able to give it to the public and have it available, so that if they wanted to, they could purchase like sessions at a lower rate. The hospital, even if I wanted to go in, they won't let me go in there. Even if I was like, I'll pay you $1,000, and they'll be like, no, it's reserved for
patients only, or people that maybe have something critical. Yeah. That's but the chambers for the average person going in, what are the benefits? What does it do for you? What does it give you?
So you're only breathing in 21% oxygen at this atmosphere, and depending on which chamber you go to, because there's different pressures. We have the 1.5, and the other one goes to 2.1. It hyperoxygenates your blood plasma. So anywhere that's hard to reach or needs healing, it helps oxygenate and helps regenerate those cells, like your brain or wounds. So like for athletes, if they're training too hard, it helps like repair their muscles and tendons and tissue. My dad's neck with inflammation, my back, because I used to have really bad back pain. I still kind of do. I went cliff jumping and then was in 6 or 7 car accidents that were not my fault. But
now was it the cliff jumping or was it the car accident?
It was all of it. Yeah. And I wasn't supposed to be training, and I did. But even post cliff jumping, they tried to do steroids and epidurals in my back before, and none of it helped. What really actually helped was peptides. And then I did that. That helped a lot. And then I ended up actually getting stem cells last year in an IV.
How'd that work for you? That's another direction that is becoming really popular.
Yeah, it's hard to do too because again the FDA shut that down as well. But it really helped a lot with my inflammation everywhere. So ideally, you want to inject the stem cells at the site of injury. But for IVs, it's like an overall like inflammatory, like helps with that and healing. Just like the hyperbaric chamber hyperoxygenates your cells, so it also increases stem cells.
So the stem cells that you took, that you had, that was intravenously rather than targeted to the injury. But
it did help.
Did it? Yeah. Is the most common is probably the more site specific?
It depends. Again, like what you're doing it for. So if you have a knee injury, you'd want it in your knee. If you have a back injury, you'd want it in that space.
Right.
But it's just harder to do. It's harder to get to. And I didn't want to be put to sleep and have to have that, especially in my back.
Right.
The shoulder, you would just put it in the shoulder where it's injured. They would do an ultrasound guided.
Right.
But yeah, I mean,
I've heard so much about it. I don't know a lot about it other than what I have heard, but it sounds like to me the success rate on healing, where people had, just chronic issues, just disappeared.
Right, and we can never say it's 100% guaranteed, but I've seen a lot of like miracle stuff.
Yeah, I think it's also too, isn't it the number of cells that they can inject, the better the outcome.
Right, and it's hard to calculate how much cells are really in there. Even when you ask these doctors if they tell you a specific number, but it's the amount of like mLs that you put in that come from there. That's what they're estimating is the millions or trillions of cells. So. The more.
Do you think that will ever become more widely available?
I do see that in my lifetime, yes, if the FDA will
allows it.
But there are places that I can still refer people to get them done, and safely in reputable places.
In the United States.
Yes.
Because I know that I have heard a number of people have gone to Mexico, seems to be a place that a lot of people will choose from. I guess there are certain places in, South America that, have, where it's widely open. And
yes, it's not as regulated and.
Yeah. So then outside of stem cell, let's go back to the chambers and explain that a little bit in detail. How does it actually work? What is it that creates the benefit for the client?
Like what's the mechanism, you mean?
Yeah, as far as, explain a little how the chamber actually works so people have an idea of what it is and how it works. And then the benefits of it and how quickly do you recognize benefits, or is it something that happens over a period of time?
So the more sessions, the better. It depending again what your use for is. One session is going to help you because a lot of the people that really can tell are the people that have like the rings, the Aura rings, or the Apple Watches that tell them how long their sleep is or how ready they are, because they'll do a before and then they'll do the chamber and then they'll do a post, and they're always telling me like they're seeing like they're more ready and they have deeper sleep, which is awesome. But if you're doing it for like a post-surgery protocol or anti-aging protocol, there's a study that talks about telomeres, and they said 30 session would lengthen the telomeres 20%, and if you did 60 sessions, it would lengthen it 25%. So it really depends on what you want to use it for, but oxygen, the reason why we die is because we lack oxygen, right? Your cells, you die because no more oxygen. Even in sepsis, you're not perfusing oxygen around everywhere in your body. Your cells, your organs aren't getting the blood and the oxygen that it needs to survive. So when you're in the chamber, you're breathing in 95 to 100% of oxygen, and the pressure, and increased pressure, it liquefies the air, which is the oxygen that you're breathing in, into your plasma, and it's able to perfuse and penetrate like everywhere in your body. And the oxygen going to those cells helps rejuvenate the cells, and that's the benefit of it. It's like increases collagen production, increases perfusion, makes more red blood cells and stem cells, so that your body can like be optimally healing.
Mm-hmm. And you're saying that these benefits can show as quickly as one session.
Mm-hmm.
But the more sessions that you do, obviously, is going to increase. Now, is there, if you stop
doing the hyperbaric,
is there a slow fade off where you come back to where you would normally be without the chamber, or does that elevate you to a certain point that you can sustain it for a while?
So if you started doing it all the time, which I've done it, like I do it regularly, it doesn't it's not like you're going to reverse time if you stop. It's just going to help the tissues and cells at the moment, and then long term just keep you healthier, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think, yeah. So if I were to do this, and I would take, let's say, 10 sessions, and I notice a difference in my sleep, I've noticed a difference in how I feel, my energy, whatever that it is, and then after the 10 sessions, I stop. Is there then a decline in how I'm feeling and how I'm sleeping because I'm no longer infusing the oxygen?
Oh, yeah. It's not going to be like you use it one session and then you sleep well, and then your sleep is going to be great every single time. Mm-hmm. It is something that if you like the benefits, you're going to want to keep doing, but it's not going to backtrack anything. Like, I guess when people ask me about Botox, for example, they were like, once I start doing it, if I stop, is it going to be worse? Just like all the other weight loss stuff. It doesn't, even with like Botox and weight loss, it's only going to ruin like your skin, or you're only going to gain weight if you don't change anything else. Right. So with the sleep thing, there's so much things that contribute to sleep, So if this is just helping you sleep, it's a really good, you're just getting more oxygen pressure, know?
Right. It's just one more tool available, so to speak. No different than a cold plunge is, you're getting some immediate value, but if you don't continue with it, you're not going to
exactly,
see the same value that you're getting while doing it.
Exactly.
Okay.
Even in the infrared saunas, you'll get rid of all the toxins, and after that 30 minutes to an hour that you're in there and you're sweating and you feel relaxed. But then if you don't continue to do it, you're not going to feel like that all the time.
Right. So let's talk about that, the infrared. How long are the sessions in that? Because the chamber is
an hour.
Okay.
Or an hour and a half.
Okay. Are people a little bit nervous or skeptical at first because you're basically locked in?
Yeah, I was scared the first time I went in, but after you do one session, you're like, oh, it's not bad, especially if I'm teaching you how you can get out of there, But people that have claustrophobia, they do get really scared to be in there and locked up, and they're like, well, I can't get out. But we have a big window, and there's a TV there, so you're able to see outward, what everybody else is doing that you can't. And there's a button in there where you press it, and it calls me, and I'm right there.
Yeah, so somebody's there, somebody's around, somebody's monitoring and keeping an eye on it. Let's just say you have somebody who says, I have to get out. How long does it take because you have to, decompress it. You can't just open up the door.
Right. If they're fully at pressure, it takes a couple minutes. If I open the valve all the way, and what I do is if that were to happen, I just tell them to shut their ears and open it up right away so that they can get out. But that hasn't had to happen.
I wouldn't think so. I would think that anybody that was willing to experience that have already thought it through, and somebody that would be that, I think, concerned wouldn't put themselves in that position. At least I would think not.
Yeah.
Yeah. But let's go back to the infrared. Talk about the benefits of that, because I've heard some pretty remarkable
benefits
to it.
A lot of people ask me what's the difference between traditional sauna versus the infrared. And the traditional saunas, they heat up the air and heat you from the outside in, whereas the infrared saunas have near, far, and mid infrared rays, and they penetrate your skin and heat you from the inside out. So you're you don't need as much heat to get you to sweat, and you could stay in there for a lot longer. But you feel more relaxed, your blood pressure goes down, you release toxins, helps collagen. And our infrared saunas have red light therapy in it too. A lot of the infrareds only have chromotherapy, but this has a red light that faces you, and it helps with cellular regeneration and energy and
so you're getting both at the same time.
Blood plasma, yeah.
You're getting the red light plus infrared.
And it helps vasodilate your vessels, so you have better blood flow, collagen production. I feel I'm addicted to it. I love it.
Yeah. How often do you do it?
At least 4 to 5 days a week.
Yeah. It's I love the sauna because that's all I have that's available to me, but there's just something about the heat and the sweat, and you can get a good sweat from working out, you can get a good sweat from running, but there's something special about sitting in a sauna at 180 degrees or whatever. And
the cold plunge, that's a different story. I wish I could tell you that every single time you do it more often, the easier it gets, but every single time it's really hard for me to get in there. But once you're in and once you do it, it's the best feeling.
It's funny because I see a lot of Instagram
Cold plunge.
of guys jumping in the cold plunge, girls getting in the cold plunge, and there was just one. I think it was today, and it was Joe Rogan getting into his cold plunge, and I mean he's such an advocate of it, and doesn't, from what he says, it doesn't miss a single day, and he's in it in like 3 minutes. And there's another CrossFit guy that I follow, Jeff Bridges, and he's the same way. He's in it. Seems like the guys that do it love it.
I
mean,
I think everyone that really does it really loves it.
Yeah, I think it's got to be however the feeling is after the fact.
Oh yeah.
Because
have you done it?
No, never have done it.
Come in and do it.
Yeah. It's because everybody that's done it just raves about the feeling. Yeah, but it's the euphoric feeling. I think after you getting out. Mm-hmm. That you feel. So I'm not really quite sure it's the cold plunge or just get the fuck out of the cold water that's doing it. But everybody, Laird Hamilton. I mean, I go down this list of people that I see on Instagram that are cold plungers that just love it.
Yeah. So the idea is that you're putting your body in cold water, and like your body wants to survive. So your feet and your hands start to hurt because it's going to the most important areas like your brain, your heart, your kidneys. Mm-hmm. So it rushes blood into your head, and your kidneys release these cold shock proteins, and that's what makes that euphoric feeling that you feel after a cold plunge.
Yeah, I think there's also something, and I wish I paid attention more to the podcasts that I listen to, because I'll listen to them and I'll get the overall, picture or view of it. But I was listening to Huberman the other day, and they were talking about, and I think it was the podcast with David Goggins, and they were talking about there's a certain portion of the brain that increases in size when you face difficult challenges. When you actually take it on. And I don't remember if it was, when you're successful at it or whatever, but you jump in and you face the challenge, and there's a certain portion of the brain. And they were kind of comparing it, I think, to also doing things that are really uncomfortable, like the cold plunge. And so it makes sense that it's triggering something in your mind of doing something. It's uncomfortable. It's a challenge. You don't want to, and you fight it, but you give in and you do it and you walk out. So there's got to be also the feeling of euphoria that you're facing challenges, and that always makes you feel good. So, but the cold plunge has so many benefits, they say, to it. Never haven't experienced it personally, but
you're gonna have to come in.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it's that would be the one. That would be it's I hate cold.
I hate cold too. That's what's funny.
Yeah,
I've done it, and it feels seriously euphoric after.
Yeah. Well, as long as the infrared sauna is available right after, I think that'll be just fine.
But the thing is you don't want to end in cold. You want to end. I mean, you don't want to end in the heat. You want to leave there feeling cold so that your body heats up on its own. Oh,
is that right? Mm-hmm. What's the is there a benefit from it, or is it just something that you just?
Yeah. So the benefit, the whole idea is that your heart's pumping to heat your body up on its own. Mm-hmm. That's what you want to leave doing. You don't want to heat up in the sauna.
I can't imagine doing the sauna first and getting my temperature, my core temperature up that high, and then that's going to make that cold water even colder. Even colder.
Yeah, I do the cold plunge before I work out.
Do you? Yeah, I heard that's the best way.
Yeah.
Is that, and then why is that? What is it that cold plunge first and then the workout?
Well, to me, it wakes me up, and then it helps me. Working out helps me heat my body up on its own. Mm-hmm. So your heart's beating fast to warm you up, and it's a good for me pre-workout. But you don't want to do cold plunge right after a workout, because then the blood that's pumping to your muscles, it constricts it from going to those areas. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
Yeah. What about infrared sauna after a workout, is that kind of the same thing that you don't want to
No,
go right into it?
I do the sauna after a workout. So when I'm done working out, I go to the sauna, and then you're like vasodilated and your muscles are feel like less sore, from your workout too.
Well, it's good to know I'm doing something right.
Yeah.
Yeah, all my workouts are, sauna is sometimes what gets me to the gym to do my workout, because that's the treat at the end.
Yeah.
I love sauna. So it's good to know that sauna after workout is a good thing, and I'm not doing it all ass backwards like I typically do. So, with all of these products available to everyone, when we talk about health and wellness, it always comes also down to your vitamin. Either you have deficiencies or you have certain vitamins that you really do need or don't need. What do you recommend as far as vitamin supplementation?
Depending on their deficiencies or just overall health?
I think, begin with overall health and then talk about deficiencies and how do you recognize the deficiencies, and, and then how do you treat it, and, that's...
So I actually sell it is a multivitamin, but it's mostly like for hair, skin, nails, like nerves, but it has like all the vitamins, minerals, and amino acids. But depending on if the patient has like a deficiency like B12, I do B12 shots, or vitamin D. I have vitamin D shots because those penetrate and absorb better than oral supplements because they go straight into your blood. But yeah, I mean, you really should be getting all of that stuff from your diet if you're eating healthy. But if you do have a deficiency after doing labs and looking at your labs, that's when we talk about more like what supplements do you need on top of that.
What type of client do you typically see coming in? What is the typical client looking for?
Well, everyone comes in for different things because I do a lot of things. So, like, a lot of the girls come in because they want, like, better skin. They want smoother skin. They want to look younger. Then I have the male client that wants to, like, look lean and have muscles and feel energized. And then I have the ones that just want the energy, that get the NAD IVs, that get the peptides. And they ask me about TRT, which I say you shouldn't do right away. It should be something that's like used like when you need it, not just to supplement with because you want it high. Because there's other things that you could do to increase like testosterone, even red light or saunas or working out.
Right. Yeah, and also too, the misnomer on TRT, testosterone replacement, is that they may think that taking testosterone is going to increase their testosterone level, but they have to also recognize if it's not done properly and you get your blood work done regularly, that your normal testosterone is going to die off. So you can be taking testosterone and your normal testosterone shuts down and you end up in the same place that you were with just your normal testosterone. So it's a catch-22 that you have to really be careful with.
Yeah, that's one of the biggest things. Like all the guys always want to ask me for TRT, and I'm like, once you start injecting yourself with TRT and you're at a certain level and you're not monitoring it, your body's going to tell it, all right, well, I already have testosterone. I don't need to make it. So then it stops producing it.
Correct.
And that's why guys get in trouble,
Yeah, they think that they're taking the testosterone, but they're not. All of a sudden, they're not seeing the benefits of the testosterone. Well, it's because your testosterone level is right back where it started. It's just that your body's not producing. You're just artificially injecting. So, that's something that, when I talk about testosterone with men, it's just be very careful of it, and be very careful that you're not doing it on your own. And you get regular blood work. So that's the only way that you're going to be able to find out where you're at.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm glad we brought that up, because that's one of my kind of little pet peeves about people and testosterone.
Yeah.
And, it's a good thing, but it can turn into a bad thing really quickly. So, but going back to what you were saying with like vitamins and vitamin D and vitamin Bs and all the different vitamins. Do you see people that come in that really benefit and show a significant change, or is it more diet? Is it more the exercise? What would you say in health and wellness is the most important factor?
I think the most important, if I had to choose one, would be hydration. It's like even the water that you drink, where is it coming from? What's in it? How much do you have of it? Because you need water and hydration. Well, you need electrolytes too in your water.
Right.
So I would say you can't survive without water. Like I've done fasts before, and the key thing is you still need to drink water. You could stop eating everything, but you still need water, hydration to live.
It's surprising that something that is so readily available gets utilized so little.
Yeah.
So many people don't drink near the amount of water that they should be consuming.
Yeah.
It's so easy. It's so easy. So you mentioned fasting. What about fasting? What do you recommend it? Do you think that it's a benefit? There's also, there's long-term fasting, there's short-term fasting. What are your take on fasting?
I always recommend doing a 16-hour fasting. I think we're all programmed to think that we need to eat 3 meals a day, but we don't. And I think it does help with energy levels. Like usually when I have like a big breakfast and I'm like cheating, I'm like lazy for the rest of the day, Right. I'm more productive when I'm only having coffee in the morning until like 1 or 2.
Yeah.
It actually keeps me more awake. And when I work out and if I eat before a workout, I can't even really work out. I like to eat. I have protein shakes sometimes post-workout just to feed like my muscles. But I would say 16-hour fasting is like the best of like both worlds. People tell me that they do these 3-day fasts, and I think a 1-day fast could be beneficial, but like at a certain point your body thinks it needs to survive, so it holds on to the fat and starts eating your muscle,
Yeah, I'll do a 24-hour fast occasionally, but it's typically after a holiday, or I've just eaten a bunch of junk because there was a special occasion or whatever. Then I feel like I just need to give my body a break, and so I'll do a 24 hours, and that's long enough for me. And that's hard, but typically when you do a short-term fast, whether it's 16 hours, 14 hours, it's really not that hard. It's not as hard as someone would think, because if you have your last meal at 6 o'clock at night and you got 6 o'clock in the morning, that's 12 hours. So you can do 16 hours and then have something at 10 o'clock, and it's not that difficult.
Yeah, I accidentally do it sometimes, but I've gone up to 20 hours with no food.
Yeah.
If I'm so busy.
If I do that, I'm like you. It's an accident, or I just didn't have the time, or I didn't make the time. But intermittent fasting for me is not that hard, and it's mainly watching when your last meal is, because you don't want to go too late. If you go too late and you're in the 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, and you're going to do, now you're all of a sudden you're into midday, mid-afternoon. And I don't like to go that long without throwing something into my system. And so I find that, 6 o'clock cutoff and do a 14-hour fast it works, and it's not that hard. Okay, we're back. Brian had to go pee.
Come on.
Now I forgot where we were at.
Yeah, me too.
So let's just end it with where are you located? How do people get in touch with you? And what's the protocol? Tell us that. Tell us where you're at, what and how people can contact you. You have websites, you have Instagram, you have all the good stuff.
So my Instagram is Rachelle.Ramiro. I have 2 companies, Revive and Rejuvenate, and CEO 2 Health. And we're located, so Revive and Rejuvenate's like house calls. We go and see you. It's a concierge service. And then CEO 2 Health's at the W Hollywood Hotel on Argyle at the retail store.
Okay.
Yeah. It's like you guys can DM us, email us. We have a website. Revive and Rejuvenate is easy. It's reviveandrejuvenate.com. And CEO is CEO2, the number 2 health.com.
Great. We'll put that in the bio, and everybody can know how to get in touch with you. It's been really great having you on. You had a lot of good information.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, things that people hear about but don't really know about. And you shed a lot of light on infrared sauna. That's awesome. I mean, I liked how that sounded, like the benefits of it.
Yeah, you should come check it out.
I'm going to, absolutely. And the cold plunge, not too sure about that one, but definitely have to give it at least a try because I know the benefits of it. But really appreciate you coming on. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, and we'll have you back on again, and tell us more.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.